Hello everyone, it's Cheryl Millett here, just coming on for a Friday, live at 5. Why not? A number of things are happening. There seems to be ongoing discussions and documentaries, videos, people sharing about what's happening at this time, kind of thing. And definitely the more I spend sometimes with certain areas, then what kind of happens is our mind starts thinking about, and I've talked about this before, where images, what we choose to listen to, what we choose to spend our time on, will actually mean that's what we're putting our attention on. And what we put our attention on, this is no different than driving, and you put your attention, or riding your bike, and you put your attention on the pothole in the road, and that's what your thoughts are on. And of course, what do? You don't avoid, you don't go around it, you don't miss it, you actually hit it. And this is something I'd like to speak about more and more, is the idea that when we put our attention on something, that we actually, that's what we're focusing on. That's the type of energy that we are giving off. And it's no different than having a bad day. And the first thing in the morning where you go, oh, this is going to be a bad day because maybe you stubbed your toe. Maybe you did whatever you did first thing in the morning. So you've decided that you're going to have a bad day. And guess what happens? You have a bad day. So very similar on that front. And then to take it even to one step further is the placebo effect. So you are given a pill, let's just give that as an example, you're given a pill, because you are told a certain thing, you start thinking that it's going to work, you start believing, thinking, then believing that this is what this pill is going to do, and therefore your fears go away, your blood pressure goes on. There was actually a documentary, a very good one, where they set up a completely fabricated, they were able to take over this abandoned building, and it almost looked like it was some corporate, several floors. They went to as far as putting up a beautiful sign outside. The whole reception lobby was gorgeous, and everything that the people, the group that would come in that were going to be research subjects for a particular placebo, they didn't know at the time. And this was about losing their fears. And every spot that they walked in, every turn that they made, it looked like everything was operating as I think it was a pharmaceutical company. They had a beautiful presentation. That movie, it's come to talk about what they were going to be doing. They had doctors come in. It was just staged perfectly so that the participants in the research had no idea that what they were going to be given was only, I don't even know if it was a sugar pill, but it was a placebo. And this is another example that what we put our attention on, that we actually create. So this is not pie in the sky. It's really a real tangible thing that happens in our world. It's actually documented. And science, from the placebo to all the examples you're going to give yourself. If you put your attention on something, it's, so from the time that you wake up, you decide you're going to have a bad day, to the pothole in the road, to the placebo, just 3 examples of variations of the thought, the belief, and the manifestation, if we want to call it that, unrolling, unraveling, and making true to what you feel and believe. So the idea here is where we come together and we understand, and as individuals you understand what I'm talking about, what I'm speaking about, and you decide that you're going to pay attention to what you're thinking, pay attention to what you're paying attention to. And this is the idea where at times people, in order to kind of transition to feel better and not get caught up in the news or not get caught up in the information that's being shared, is to take a break from it, to take a vacation from it, not to watch it as much. This is clear to me from various people I've spoken to. They, as we all are, most, where we're kind people and we want to see kind things, or whatever group it is. But the idea is the people that want to see nobody hurt, want to see the world be a better place, that there is kindness amongst all of us. So on the other hand, no bullying, no violence, no mandatory stuff, no controlling stuff. You know, you've got the freedoms on one side and the non-freedoms. So you're going to see just how for every side there's the other side. It's like a coin. Everything exists almost as a coin, where there's one side and the other side, and you're going to take sides. Even just this morning, I mentioned about vaccines to my neighbor, and even though we've known each other for over 20 years, the walls come up easily for some people when it's things that are challenging or trying to give another side. But the thing that I see most in the challenging is they're saying, but the science, but the experts. And kind of what I said to her was, but there is science on the other side. Look it up. It is science. So this is the thing that in a lot of cases, when certain people are believing in, how can I say, I want to say mainstream media, because they're the ones who are projecting the information out there as only X, right? Or the medical doctors as only X, or only allowed, their hands are tied, only allowed to say certain things. Like chiropractors they were at one point, or at least they were doing it, where they were talking out about vaccines to their patients, and then that switched. No, they couldn't anymore. They couldn't go there anymore. And then on the other side is, I remember my medical doctor saying, well, I can now, just now, and it would be over 10 years ago, because I haven't seen her. She retired, and she said, only now are we allowed to actually refer people to a massage therapist, a registered massage therapist. There's a number of people that the medical doctors can't refer people to. I'm a holistic nutritionist, not a nutritionist, not a dietitian, and we are not regulated like the dietitians, but there is a difference between dietitians and holistic nutritionists in a big way. They can't sell supplements. Yes, we can, and we can recommend them. They can't. They have to follow the food guide. I don't have to do a darn thing with following the food guide. So I've got much more freedom. And I thought about doing that route, but I don't like the idea of hands being tied or regulated or changing at any point in time. And sure, there's ways to work around it, but quite often in those cases, it might actually mean your job or your license, things like as happened with the doctors who have become more holistic minded, and yes, their license was taken away. Crazy as it seems. So what we put, so what we put our attention to is very important. And just seeing some of the comments and some of the videos, it's going to continuously keep us in worry or possibly fear or possibly thinking about something we do not want. Sometimes when I watch things, I'm going, I know enough about it. I don't want to watch this kind of thing as to what it's going to do, what it's going to do, what it's going to do. To me, it seems like it feeds our mind of something we do not want. More and more, right now, at this time, any one of us could break away from mainstream media and follow some of the basics we have to, as we have to understand what we have to do. But for the most part, you just carry on with your life. You really can. Yes, we cannot travel like we used to, although that's opening up. But there is really just focusing on you and your life. And I can't tell you what to do. I can't tell you. I honestly sit here and say, I don't know what's better for you. I don't. That's not my thing. And in fact, there's just this book that somebody highly recommended, John, his name is John, and At the Feet of the Master. Now, if I have it right here, I'll bring it. It's just a little itty bitty book, and it might be too high for me to reach. But the idea, At the Feet of the Master, the idea is the thing that it repeated a few times. And one of the challenges, or one of the challenges, whatever it is to mind our own business, right? Not to tell other people what to do. It's a practice, and it's been a practice for me because I didn't know any better. It's not from the first time I heard that book, but the idea is, in order to accept and love yourself and just be present in the moment, is to forgive and stop blaming yourself and just go, you worked with what you knew at the moment. And if anything, you always start with a fresh slate every morning, if you want to think of it as that, or every moment. And this is where the space and time, stillness, and your own time, and spending with meditation and different things come into play, where you have time to digest things, you have time to slow down, not only your breathing, your body, but your mind. And this is where you just give space and expansion to what it is that matters most. So for each and every one of you out there, who matters most in your life is you. And anything that you bring forward into your life, anything you bring forward, yes, it's impacting you. And if you bring forward giving yourself, being the martyr or being whatever it is to everybody else, you are not honoring yourself. You're not taking care of yourself. Yes, we're all going to help people, but we've been brainwashed to think we have to share, that we have to give more than accept or receive. It's almost like the coin, that coin, there's two sides to it. There's giving and receiving and giving, and there's a balance and a harmony and a peace with all of that. And that, I think, is critical. If I share anything of my metaphysical journey, there was a turning point where I went from happiness to feeling life as a goal, and this would be about a few years ago, is peace. Peace was the thing that felt so real, felt so, how can I say it? I want to say lovely, I want to say gentle, I want to say warm, I want to say so many things about it. And we can think of peace, as you're going to see more and more it in different places, as just there's no war. But that's a different type of peace. That's the coin. Whereas on one side, there's peace because there's no war. On the other side, there's fighting, violence, war. That's the coin. Step away from the two sides and feel what peace feels like in any given moment where you are just accepting of what is. It's not with as we do with happiness and with love, it's not with conditions. It's not a peace with conditions. And this is an important thing. Anything where we have expectations, or well, I'll be happy when, those conditions, it leaves us short. It was playing with the coin on either side of the coin. It's like that angel and devil. And that was another thing that came to me in doing the metaphysical work and the self-mastery work, is actually to understand both the angel and the devil that play out in movies, or play out, mostly movies, books, those kind of things, where they're kind of at at odds with each other. No, do this. No, you've got to do this. No, you got. That kind of angel devil is both working with the mind, the part of the mind. Some call it negative ego, altered ego, or that part of the mind which doesn't serve us, right? It's the mind that's saying you're not good enough. It's the mind to say, oh, you're better than everybody else. That mind that will keep you playing with one or other sides of the coin. And this is where they do speak to it, the egoic mind. But mastery, self-mastery, those teachings, understandings, and practices, I can't explain it here in any way, shape, or form, simply. It's just not that simple. But the idea is every one of us it's up to you, would be feeling at peace once you find that your life is not dependent upon others. It's not dependent upon what you get, or if you do this, this is what's going to happen. It's not dependent upon any of the things outside of ourselves. I could take you through 3 questions right now, which then what would happen is you'd get to the end of them and say, yes, happiness is what that would give me. But you feel the happiness, and it's that feeling that you brought about that you can harness or welcome or bring about at any time you want to, because it's asking the questions. If you could have anything, be anywhere, have anything right now, what would it be? When you figure out what that is, for most people they're talking about something, cars, family, those kind of things. But just to get the feeling of certain feelings, you can ask yourself a question or two, and you'll get to the feeling of what it is that you're trying to feel. And it's that feeling that can be brought about by just accepting and deciding and, being with that. So very, very important. I did lots of little stuff there. So I just wanted to I don't know if anybody here has read these books, Anastasia books, The Ringing Cedars. It's a great series. It's an awesome series. There's actually 9 books, and not a lot of people have actually heard about them. But it's a great, there's all kinds of understandings, all kinds of things that, and I think understanding, you have to seek to understand before you make yourself understood, but understandings seems to be coming up more and more in my thought process. We think of education, yes, but when we study science in school, we study any subject, we get a better understanding. So life in general, or anything, or relationships or anything, when we go through things, we talk things out, we kind of understand, we're given understandings, then it's, can open up more of an ease of moving forward and growing, if we want to call it that. But this Anastasia book, I just mentioned quickly because I was working on it. Then I'm going to go over to a couple of other things. This Anastasia book here is something I've decided I spoke with the I want to call it dean, but I know she doesn't want dean, of the academy, the University of Self-Mastery. And I'm going to be doing a free book club with the series. So I decided to do, there's several books. So in working with the Self-Mastery, or working with doing book clubs, this was one of the series, but there's several other books. So over the course of time being with the academy, I'm going to definitely do Anastasia first and then other books, but I'll post those links when it comes time. So let's so say hello if you're on, if you're watching. And what I want to bring up now is a couple of things. One was some really interesting facts. So I'm just going to kind of bring that up, if it'll come up. Computer slow. I'd love to have more and more windows, so let's just see if it'll stay here. Some of you may already understand more and more that in certain ways the world is being cleaned up of harm to children, harm in the way of different, businesses that have been out there that have worked globally, aside from slaves, not really that per se as we know it and understand it of the past, but actually the whole trafficking thing. So Ghislaine Maxwell has been arrested, and the big thing is, the only reason why I kind of mention it is, let's see what happens. She's in the same jail as Hoosie Fritz. Now, I won't mention his name. It isn't even worth conversing about that guy. And this person as well. But let's see what kind of unfolds. I'm not going to think about it anymore. I'm not going to look at any news about it. but the idea is just caught it that she was arrested, found. I mean, with all the technology we have today, with all of the things going on, you wonder why now? What are they setting up here? It's kind of interesting because it says here, I'm going to read it. So for the record, we have it. This was just a picture. I don't know where this picture came from. I don't know how anybody got it. It was on Instagram. You don't really have the links to photos there, but Ghislaine Maxwell moved to intensive care as coronavirus symptoms worsen. But strangely enough, the date is, I can't see it very, very clear, but let's say it's July 20th, 2020. It's in the future. So they have this already printed up, or somebody's just pulling our tail, something like that. And we'll see. If some people are thinking, okay, well, it's time to take her out, time to do that. So the arrest, and then perhaps going on to either suicide, or in this case, she's going to be diagnosed with that wonderful coronavirus. Yeah, I mean, this is a tough one to swallow, I have to say, that to be mindful of the things that we say to people who don't have any understanding of what's going on. So if we have to think about this world in a coin, once again, there's the people that have awareness and understanding of one side of this event, and then you have the other side where they are happy to put masks on, happy to be good citizens, happy to be that. But there's something that I found was a little bit of a summary here for people to understand, and I'll read the doctors out afterwards. But it's basically, you've been lied to. You cannot catch COVID-19 from person to person. You cannot catch COVID-19 from touching surfaces. Viruses are dead material expelled from healing cells. And this is something I wrote about in my book. Everyone has thousands of viruses inside their body. People, this is no different than germs. We're never going to get rid of germs. We're not going to get rid of decomposing mushrooms, fungus, mold, those kind of things. But they will draw attention when things are out of imbalance. You don't want mold growing in your house. So everyone has thousands of viruses inside their body. So just hold on to that. Viruses is a part of our world. And for some reason they painted them with a broad stroke. They're very bad. I guess no different than the itty bitty spider that everybody can be afraid of. So government and mainstream media news are lying to all. Well, they're just whatever narrative they want for control. So neglect elderly and sick, and call small businesses and social engineering. So this is speculating in some ways, but it's coming true. So the economy, and we know that in New York now, they actually put people with COVID into elderly care centers. So everybody else I don't know. I'm not going to speculate, but it's one of those things. So research, alternative views, knowledge, and information. So you got Dr. Kaufman, MD, you've got Mark Devlin, Dr. Vernon Coleman, UK Column News, Amazing Polly, Dr. Rashid Buttar, which we've been listening to, and also Dr. Mohammed Adil, so NHS Consultant Surgeon. I actually cropped the photo, download it, and I will post it up. I've just got to make a JPEG of it. But more importantly, I want to actually talk about something that was brought to my attention, but I want to talk about it again. And this is the European doctors. So the European doctors, actually pathologists, went against the WHO and did autopsies on, I guess, Europeans, you could say, because it was all European countries, several of them. And I posted the link on the last live at 5, but it's worth bringing up again. In there, because I was just read that image to you, basically what they're saying is there is no virus. There is no coronavirus. The people that have passed, died of other causes, or they go into a little bit of detail there, but this was some sort of a conference, and this is well over a month ago. But again, if it's not front and center on mainstream media, we don't really get to learn to understand both sides. Again, it seems like the mainstream media is one side of the coin. They're not, they've got a bias, and I don't know if it's because corporations own the mainstream media, possibly, and there's corporations are saying this is the narrative we have to follow. If it doesn't fall in line with this, then we do not want this to be communicated. So you think you hear about biases all the time. CNN got busted for having a bias only to promote anything that put Trump down and to make Democrats look good. So simple bias there, but think of all the other biases where we don't get to hear. Here's an interesting thing, and this is the Denver Airport murals. This was really interesting. Now, I know Dr. Leonard Horowitz. I've met him a few times or several times at health shows. He's done several books. The bird flu hoax is one of his books I have on my shelf. And so it makes sense that he's doing other things and other books here. But this is Denver Airport. Very interesting information. And again, it's just more about being somewhat informed. But there was a picture that was shown and it said this was at the Denver Airport. So I did my research. I went to look up all the murals of the Denver Airport, and I got more than I bargained for, which is kind of interesting. So the idea is you've got this Denver Airport. Apparently it was built, and the other airport was fine. It was perfectly fine, but this other Denver Airport, whoever wanted it, not sure, because they actually state that it was privately funded. So not only was the budget initially just under $2 billion, it ended up being, I think, triple that, or almost triple that. It might be a different article than the one I have up here. But I'll post this article because of the pictures, and they're just freaky. Really just freaky. But the interesting thing was, okay, so let me back up. So you have this airport, Denver Airport, being built. Now we know the Bushes are there, aka German. They're German last names. They changed their names, and they're in this state, and a lot of things have kind of been pointing at that state, Texas. So here we got the Denver Airport being built, just not built because they wanted to. The other one wasn't good enough, but built on buildings that existed, perfectly good buildings that existed. And they didn't tear them down. What they did is they built over these buildings. And somebody from the airport quoted on one of the articles. I only read 3 of them, but one of them said that, yeah, we use it for storage, or we do have access to them, these underground. So just little tidbits you can get out of different articles to kind of push together. So here we have, and then there was a picture, big, huge tunnel, like you could drive a massive truck in it, and that was another picture. And then what was very interesting is there was actually this capsule. You want to do time capsules? I'm going to see if I can actually read a little bit from it. It should be in this one. Here it is. Yes, so Denver International Airport, Wellington E. Webb Mayor, and so it goes governor, I guess these are the people. So the time capsule beneath the stone contains messages and memorabilia to the people of Colorado in 2094. I'm not sure why it says Colorado, but so dedication capstone laid by the most, okay, so laid by Colorado and jurisdiction, names, most worshipful Grand Lodge of Colorado. That even sounds suspect to me. Benjamin, I think it says Hill Jr. or Bell Jr., Grand Master. Suspect, but here's the thing. March 19, 1994. So that's how long ago it was put in play. So, And then it has this piece. So a couple of the articles bring this to attention, different information, but New World Airport Commission contributors. And then they talk to just actually architects and stuff like that. But so they're saying that this has got a new world, it's got a Masonic temple symbol on it. Absolutely, that is a Masonic symbol. And New World designation. But when one of the individuals of the 3 articles I read kind of went to research, and he says he's a straight up guy. It's almost like he's one of the guys that would look at things and say, holy F, right? Not a conspiracy theorist. But he looked it up, and there's no corporation that's New World something. I know it says something else. He called it different else. But that company that it was done, and private funding. So the private funding, they don't know. They don't know who built this new Denver airport that didn't need to be built, and they chose to build it over top of perfectly existing, functional buildings, which I don't know what they look like. But to get back to the murals, they're creepy. They're creepy murals, to tell you the truth. And New World Airport. So murals, there's several of them, and what they've done, I mean, you can always look this up too as well, but there's people lying in coffins, there's babies dying. Oh, it's really, I have no idea why these murals will be there. But the one mural that I couldn't find that was being posted on Instagram was a group, it looked more like a sketch, and that was of a group of children from not all, probably all corners of the world, but not from every country, because there's like 200 plus countries, but plenty of them, and they all had their flag but in a mask. So this is back in 1994. I still think it's very odd that people like Tony Fauci and Bill Gates actually said, we're going to have a pandemic, we're going to have like they absolutely knew that this was going to happen. It was planned. I guess that's why they call it plandemic. But a little bit of, a little bit of interesting topics there, but I'd still go right back to the beginning of the conversation, where what we really want to do is focus on peace. We want to be aware enough, yes, but we want to be aware enough what is going to serve us, serve our world, serve our family and stuff, is actually to be at peace, to be enjoying, to looking after ourselves, to all the things that make you feel good. At the end of the day, you want to feel good, and you want to go to bed feeling good, which is why I will repeat, we don't really want to watch the news, listen to the news, read kind of books that are disturbing at best, or it's not what we want. Find the books that are going to be lighthearted. Find the books that are not necessarily going to get you into a fantasy world, but that's going to be of interest. It could even be, I don't know, cooking the perfect shortbread. It could be anything. But things like that, things you want to do, look after yourself. I know Monday I'm going to start a cleanse with a good friend, and my daughter's going to do it, so I'm just going to be focusing on that next week. One of the things, a cute thing I actually want to bring up, I was playing with the scales, and I usually tell people don't get addicted to weighing yourself every morning, but I decided one morning I was going to play, and the play looks a little bit like this: clothes on, clothes off, before shower, after shower, before bath, go to the toilet, after go to the toilet. So, there wasn't a lot, less than a handful of things that would do it. And what I gathered from the numbers that were coming up were that clothes makes a difference to your weight. So if clothes makes a difference to your weight. Even drinking a glass of water didn't make that much difference to my weight. Going to the bathroom didn't make that much difference for the weight. But the biggest thing by a pound, pound and a half, 2 pounds, and I'm not talking a lot of clothes, like the house coat, and house coats can be very heavy, but certain things, those kind of things actually kind of made the weight scale go up, go up scale. So anyway, working on that. If anybody wants to join a cleanse, do something like that, experiment, but not really experiment. You got to do it to where you're ready for, but there's definitely gentle ways to do cleansing. Very simple. Support liver for the most part, support the cells, and also think of a bit of, not going to say fasting, but the idea is definitely breaks from eating food like you're used to eating food. So a bit of that, which is never a bad thing, but for some it can be. So the idea. So I'm going to put the links up on this Denver airport murals. So when you want to have a kind of a peek at it and go and just be aware of it. I mean, it's interesting. And the reason why I kind of bring it up and kind of look at these things, and maybe you'll be a more aware as time goes by, what are they putting in TV programs? What are they saying? What are you seeing as far as symbols? Yeah, in pictures and advertising. There's just kind of be aware of the craziest things that sometimes we just look at part of it, but we don't look at it and stand back and go, what kind of meaning am I seeing? And just pause and take note of certain things. Like Contagion. How coincidence was that that came out last year? How much of a coincidence was it that, I think it was Gates, they did this fabricated pandemic exercise, and actually watched some of the videos, and they would do breakouts and things like that to actually figure out, well, what would they do? I think the exercise in itself, with probably the groups of people that were actually doing it in the masses, was not so much that they would do what they're going to do, but as much as the thought around it happening. You know, the thought around it. So remember what I said earlier on, what we think about, we bring about. From Contagion to, from years ago, Fauci talking about this pandemic, you know, in front of audiences, big audiences, interviews with Gates. So this stuff gets fed into our mind when we hear it. And these are the kind of things that if we focus on, then what are we attracting, or what are we creating? And this is the idea that when we hear some of those things, I'll just tell you what I do. It's just like shaking it off, you know, just kind of going into a state, like almost like a very peaceful, quiet state. Come in, come out, almost like you could imagine. You can do however you want. A river flowing, taking it out of your consciousness, those kind of things. Anyway, things, something like that. Lighten it, make it go up in a balloon, put it in smoke, whatever you want to do. But some of these thoughts, sometimes just a physical shake of the body is better than just the thought part of it as well. So kind of do both. Anyway, I'm going to put up those two links. I can't think of anything else. Let's just see if anything comes up in some of these things. So anyway, yeah, there's going to be, yeah, you're going to receive repetition of all kinds of things, and continuing updates on many things, so for sure. But whatever you hear, especially if it's mainstream media stuff, I just take it with a grain of salt, because sometimes I'm hearing certain things, and it's because more people are just believing what they hear. They're taking it as gospel, as sometimes we can say. And this would, again, what we think about, we can bring about. So I'm going to leave it at there. I'm going to wish everybody a very, very good weekend. I am going to try and do all my newsletters this weekend. I know it's crazy Saturday, but I've had a bit of play anyway this week with picking berries. The berries are all ready here in Toronto. The pear berries, the mulberries, even the blackberries, even my raspberries, strangely enough, with all this heat, sunshine, that usually they're third week in July, and I actually picked up raspberry the end of June. So good weather. Everything's early in that respect, but it does sound like we need some rain if we're going to have blueberries, which I want to do. So I'm going to wish everybody a wonderful evening, on top of a wonderful weekend. And any questions, any thoughts, any comments for the good people here, then post below so people can, get your thoughts, get your comments, your feedback on things, even certain links that may be something that you want other people, are you aware of this? Just kind of putting it out there. And I'll put those two links in here and post up that picture of, I think we can kind of hear COVID more than enough times, but maybe I won't put it up. So there you go, everyone. I want to thank you for coming on board. I hope that you have, you're feeling better and better about things that are going on. And in some cases, we just got to focus on doing the things that are going to make us feel good. Just keep doing that and have the faith on that. And anywhere you can help out in maintaining freedoms, that's what we want to do. We want to be kind of on top of that. Actually, the one thing I have to go and study this week and may report on Monday is what happened in Ottawa. So what happened in Ottawa with the march that was going to go on by a citizen who's a firefighter, and what went on there. So I do have the link somewhere, and I'm going to go and research and see what happened there and just kind of get up to date on that. Many things to get up to date on. Won't claim to watch all the videos anymore. It's just too much time doing that. So I'll search, but keep sending me videos, even though I know some of them are circulating, and I'll get them a few times, but it doesn't matter. Keep sending them. So I really appreciate that. Take care, everyone, again, and we will look to see it live at 5 at another point in time. And I will post anything I think is relevant and continue to do that. Take care. Bye for now.